Hello and welcome to the last in the first season of Life in the Mind, a neurodivergent podcast presented by neurodivergent people. It's like the last day of term.
Let's watch videos.
we should have all brought board games in, lost all the pieces and got upset when we got home and we couldn't find the bit to mousetrap that we were missing.
That feels like there's a core memory there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes, who are we?
I am Joy Amy Wigman.
And I'm Murray Spear.
And
we're traumatized by losing things from podcasts.
Yay! We are this week going to do an episode looking back on some of the people that we've been talking to and kind of
season retrospective.
Yeah, season retrospective. Kind of talk about what we've learned from them. Because I've learned loads of stuff. Because like I said at the beginning of the season, I'm pretty new to this. I only got diagnosed last year. I discovered last year, and I'm still learning.
Yeah,
so
like
I had
a
lots
year
of stuff
on
to learn.
from that first discovery.
It is because it was June. So I've been on the waiting list for a year now. Woohoo!
Yeah.
1 year down, another
20
3 to
more
go. I laugh because otherwise I'd cry. So we've talked about loads of different things. We've talked about office work, creativity, comedy, stacking, access to support, hoarding, art, loads of stuff.
So I'm just looking at it and it's like, numerically, there's not many, but at the same time, there's so much there. And there's so much in every single, and actually it is many. My brain is having a bit of a, whoa, talking and reading things. Let's stop looking at the page.
Yeah, stop looking at the page. There we are. We'll cover up the page. It'll be fine.
We worked it out.
Murray, is there a specific thing that you...
Ooh, I mean, should we just go through?
We could go through, yeah.
Chronological retrospective.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to have to say that in American accent every time. Sorry, any Americans or anyone else.
A chronological retrospective.
Yeah, it's playing with accents is really enjoyable. Yeah, and it's very much me doing that for funsies. Anyway, yes.
So we started off. So this is actually in order of recording rather than releasing because it will be slightly different.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we started off talking to Ma about parenthood, which was really fun for me because I got to talk to another neurodivergent parent rather than just kind of muddling along the way that I have, and it was just really nice to learn that other people are having the same issues that I'm having, and it's not a failure in my ability to be a parent. It is just surviving the way that you can.
It was really interesting with that one to hear about because I'm not a parent, but I've grown up looking after kids quite a bit, and it's just interesting to hear all the different nuances and stuff. And that's been one of our most popular episodes. And it's really something that we kind of identified it as a bit of a niche to start with.
Yeah,
we really wanted to do it because there's so much about, like, oh no, your child is autistic, how will you cope with this curse upon your family kind of things out there, which is lovely, really helpful. Thanks.
Yeah,
great.
thanks for that.
Brilliant.
But also, there seems to be quite little out there for parents who are neurodivergent.
Yes.
Who are most likely parenting neurodivergent children.
Yeah.
Is all focused on either you're a neurodivergent parent with a neurotypical child or you're a neurotypical parent with a neurodivergent child. And that's a very unlikely combination.
Yeah, realistically, in terms of how genetics work.
Yeah. Basic misunderstanding of genetics. So that was a really interesting one for me. And then we had
Verity with office work and madness. In terms of that was a lovely episode because
I thoroughly enjoyed that.
You guys, you're basically busy mates, and I was just like, what is happening? We just got very loud and raucous. It was brilliant.
On our previous episode, we talked about empathy and about how people's emotions and stuff leak out and other people pick up on them. Me and Verity became one and the same person, which is what happens when I'm around Verity.
The energy in the room by the end was, I felt like the room should probably have been vibrating.
Yes.
Because we were all just a bit like, woo!
And weirdly, we were talking about trying to have a normal job.
Yeah.
Yes. Trying to have a normal job when you're neurodivergent.
The realities of being able to, manage sitting in an open plan office all day or something like that.
Well, that was interesting to me because Verity got an ADHD coach, which the DWP paid for. So she had ADHD coach to try and help her navigate that. Which I had never heard of an ADHD coach before. And I was sort of thinking, I'd love to have an autism coach. I really would. I'd love to have an ADHD coach just to help me with my husband and like how I can help. Not in a, how do I deal with this? But more in a, like, how can I help him? How can I make things easier for him? Yeah.
My brain's just come up with the concept of an ADHD coach being a coach you get on as your ADHD, and it just takes you on random wild adventures.
Yes.
It's like it's like a kid's story kind of thing. Yeah.
Everybody aboard the ADHD coach.
Yeah, and it just like flies off to have weird adventures. It's like, we're chasing butterflies today, but flying whilst we're doing it in the magical ADHD coach.
While your bills go flying by in a cloud.
Yes, just like all of the things I'm meant to be doing, but I'm chasing this cloud.
Supposed to be phoning the children's school, but I'm chasing this cloud. There's a musical. ADHD the musical. And you got to talk to Tom about creativity.
Yeah, which was, again, really interesting. I think we could have talked for hours and hours and hours on that subject. We both just have so much to say about it. And it's such a rich conversation because there's so much like that. Even just going to one of those irritating misconceptions and misunderstandings about autism, especially. Black and white thinking. You just kind of, something is or isn't. It's like, no, that wasn't, no, what?
It's much more nuanced than that.
And also, it often lends itself to creativity in the way that autistic people think, like kind of connectedness or thinking expansively about, well, everything, why are you calling this physics? It's science, because it also has biology and chemistry in it. It's just a generic everything, but it's also the music of the spheres. Not quite that,
but yeah.
Something there.
But yeah.
Like and there's so much there. Creativity is definitely, and I think just for humanity, creativity is something we have far too quickly shut down. There's, we can't do this. I can't draw. It's like, you can't draw in this way. You can't draw this specific thing in the way that person can draw it. But you can draw. You can put something on. You can do that, or just you are creative. You need to, like, mathematicians being some of the most creative people, because once you get to a certain point of you have to be working in theoreticals a lot of the time and holding beyond and hypothesizing so many
theory is creation.
Massive things. And theory is creation. Imagination creation.
And like music is maths.
Yep.
Music is just maths. I used to have a friend who could just transpose. If you just say, can you? That's too low for me to sing. I can put up a couple. Yeah. Like, how are you doing that? Like, it's just maths.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could talk about creativity for hours and hours.
It's just interesting how we've talked about before how you especially don't like maths.
Yeah.
Or find maths hard. But you're really musical. I just suddenly had this thought of, like, it's interesting whether how we're taught maths has gone the way of actually us being mathematical, genocide. That was all intentionally word nonsense.
Yes,
I'm sorry
definitely.
For that.
That's Murray's Jabberwocky.
Mathematical geniuses. If my brain gets excited, it jumps and squeals over words.
I used to love formulas.
Oh.
'Cause that's theory, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to I'm going to try and work out what F is, and I'm going to pop a number in there and see what happens. So I used to like that stuff.
Yeah.
I just, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Me and maths.
It's an entire different thing, isn't it? Going off down there. Maths in our education system in Britain. Maths and that, all of these things. And dyscalculia, we're gonna have to cover all of those things at some point. There's so much
However,
there.
English.
Oh.
English is my maths.
Oh,
That's my
just instinctive.
Yeah. I mean, not when I'm speaking, obviously, or when I'm like posting on Facebook and people pull me up on like, oh, actually, you mean this? I'm like, oh, just get knotted. Like, I'm on social media. I'm not writing an essay, but it's my special interest. Sparkly. So, like, copy editing. Num.
Yeah.
Num. Anyway, we've talked about that before many times.
We then
Organised religion.
Yeah.
We talked to Paul about, which I'm going to say again. It's great because that was a very different episode. Paul was very open about his experiences with specifically organised Christianity. And we all had little things that we could put in there. And learning, because Paul's also my husband. So I learned things that I did not know. And, you know, we've been together like 7 years.
Yeah. That was really lovely to have all those little bits of happening in there.
Yeah.
Because it also shows how great, just talking around things in a relationship, you then learn about each other in different ways and you connect on different levels and I didn't know that. And there's always that constant growth and melding and learning and, never really stops.
Those different conversations that you kind of don't have time to have because you're keeping a small human alive.
Yeah, they have a baby. It's not just like, they haven't got like a really weird Tamagotchi.
I mean, she's not really human. She's more of a goblin. An adorable little goblin who climbs things. She loves climbing. She loves climbing and building blocks that are all the same colour. All the blue ones, all the yellow ones.
Yes, likely one of ours.
Yeah, she's one of mine. Yes.
One of the, with the parents like you guys.
Yeah. I found that one really sort of illuminating.
And it was nice because it had all the nuances of positives, negatives, in-betweens and different, understanding why something is a certain way and it works for certain people, but then it didn't quite work for you, or bits that really worked for you but doesn't work for the people.
Yeah, it wasn't
really
like wasn't a big old rant. It also wasn't a glorification. It was a really good, nuanced conversation. And if you haven't listened to that one, sorry, I'm laughing at Murray. If you haven't listened to that one, do go and have a listen. And then we have the lovely Nick.
Yeah, it's talking about comedy.
Yeah,
and natural.
And Nick was our first guest who is dyspraxic.
Yes, and actually I learned a lot of things.
Oh, great.
In that I was like, oh, wait, that makes sense. That's what, because for me, trying to work out where my dyspraxia sits.
Yeah.
Alongside like the ADHD and autism. And it's been the one out of those three, the neurodivergencies, that I've known about for the longest time.
Yeah.
It's always been like a thing. But actually, I've never really looked into it and gone beyond the kind of, I can't coordinate things in a certain way, or I have to do it that's really cat-handed. Like, I'm pouring a thing, my elbow has to be out here today because I'm tired, otherwise it will be poured in completely the wrong place. But like things that Nick was saying about how it affected certain physicalities, and I can't remember what, but I remember having various, that's a really, I hadn't thought about that, but yes, I'm exactly the same.
I have a friend who listened to the episode and is now looking into getting a diagnosis for dyspraxia.
Well, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like, that's a win.
That's what we want, isn't it?
Yeah.
For people to discover themselves.
Yeah, and find things, go then on a path of being able to look after themselves and do different discovery. Self-discovery is a wonderful thing. Yeah, wonderful thing to go through. I mean, it's also difficult and can be very tiring and loads of things, but there's so much potential in there. And it's, if it's something where you can then potentially gain. Your life can be improved by that process. That's wonderful to be able to help people with. That really is. Yeah.
And we talked to him about comedy.
Which was fascinating in itself.
Yeah.
So of course, you guys worked together.
Yeah, we worked together
Comedy
for like 7 years.
Yeah.
Doing various comedy sketches and improv together. And Nick's done stand-up as well. And Nick's stand-up is just gloriously odd.
I can imagine it would be brilliant.
He's such an intelligent man.
Yeah.
And he puts every ounce of that intelligence into his comedy. But it's also so silly. It's a brilliant juxtaposition of being ridiculous and so clever.
Yeah.
It's so clever.
Well, if you think of stuff like Monty Python,
Yeah.
that's very much that kind of thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? Incredibly clever guys creating really extremely wacky comedy at times.
But there was a lot of talking about how we think in a different way. So we're going to find those little bits of comedy,
incongruities.
yeah, that people won't necessarily have thought of. And like, it's sort of skipping ahead on the list a bit. But when we talked to Kat about art, Kat from Jelly Armchair, and she said that she started doing her pun cards because of her dyslexia, because she was writing the wrong word, and then she would start illustrating the weird thing that she's accidentally said, and turned it into a positive, which turned into puns, which turned into these cards, which turned into her business.
Yeah.
So it's being able to see a completely different side of something.
Yeah.
Um,
and like there's so many all those situations where we might misunderstand something slightly, or we say something and we haven't meant it as a joke, but then someone laughs and like,
okay, that's funny.
oh, that's funny, that's interesting.
This morning when I said the word headcanon and you you immediately went, I'm sorry, I can't continue. I'm imagining a little cannon attached to someone's head.
Actually, you just walk around going, yes, I've made a headcanon. What? Boom, boom. Yeah, and it's so interesting. Yeah, it's such a rich conversation. There's so much rich topic. Yeah, a lot to mine. And then we had Tammy, where we talked about stacking, which again, really interesting. Like those co-occurrences, comorbidities of so many different things. Because of course we are ourselves we're like a Russian doll of things, aren't we?
Oh, Russian doll's nicer than pile. Yeah,
we are piles.
Yeah.
We had a heap of problems or differences, things.
I'm a card house. I fall down very often. So comorbidities and stacking, and most of the people I know have more than one thing going on.
Yeah.
And it's really weird because the system is not built for comorbidities.
No,
is mad.
Yeah,
it's madness.
Yeah, that kind of echo. I think, or in my Murray theory, it's a echo of when you have physical illnesses in one category, then you have diseases of the mind in another category, and these are very different things.
Oh, they're separate entirely.
Entirely different things, and so they obviously don't go on one on top of each other. It's either one or the other type of thing.
And if you've got something that is a neurological physical condition, it makes it even more like that they can't cope with that at all.
Yeah.
So
as we both know very well.
With fibromyalgia, because it's neurological, but it's also physical. They cannot cope with that.
No.
Absolutely cannot cope with that.
Rather fascinating.
Yeah.
It really is a very new kind of school of reality in a way, within professions and being thought about as a real thing in life. As we both have our own different chronic illnesses that are kind of neurological, physically things. And we've both had that experience of you go to a doctor sometimes and they go, hey, wait, what? And you have to go, okay, so I'm going to start the clock now, and I'll charge you at the end of the hour after I've taught you about this thing.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I'd make so much money. Teaching doctors.
With Tammy, it was great talking about stacking because like Tammy was talking about that very thing, really, because because she has a learning disability.
Yeah.
But when she was younger, it was diagnosed that she had a severe learning disability, when actually what she had was a mild learning disability, and she was neurodivergent.
Yeah.
And it's just another example of doctors not going, oh, actually, two or more things could be going on here.
Yeah. It's not just, one thing kind of covers some of this. Let's just do the one thing.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, and it then caused problems. I mean, we talk about it more in that episode, but it does. It really is very much a proper. There's lots of pitfalls to fall into around that, and it's so important for us to. And it is, as we were talking about, saying a new field of things, fields of thought, school of thoughts, and way of being within the world. That it's really good for us each individually to be aware of as well. Actually, there could be so many things going on behind people's eyes. You know, what are the trails that have led someone to the point? It's not just necessarily one thing. There are so many factors between each reality. Yeah, it's interesting.
Which probably leads us on to Elisa, because we were talking about access to support.
Yeah, which obviously, that back and forth between those two.
Yeah.
Such even just talking about our chronic illnesses kind of side of things, which, I mean, I very much see my functional neurological disorder as linked to my ADHD and autism. Because when I look after one, the others accidentally get, or like actually, when I look after the ADHD and autism, my F&D is better looked after.
Yes.
It seems to be ease off. And that's the best way I found of looking after the F&D. But that had the barriers to getting support, especially before I knew I had ADHD and was autistic, massive. And people were just like, I have no idea what you are. We're going to do all of the tests on you. You're going to just stay in hospital for a while, and we're going to do every test imaginable on you to try and work out what it is.
Which is always fun.
Yeah. Yes. But then it's, the actual, I get paralysed every now and then, but have no support for it.
No.
Because they don't know how to deal with
How to
it.
support it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of, I knew I had fibromyalgia, and there were all of these symptoms, and it's very different for each person, fibromyalgia. So I just assumed that was fibromyalgia. I got diagnosed with complex PTSD, and discovered that some of those things were actually complex PTSD, and with treatment they would ease, which they have. And then discovering I'm autistic, and actually some of the fibromyalgia stuff could possibly be autism. But they're combined, things like sensory overload is part of fibromyalgia, and brain fogs and disorientation and all that kind of stuff. But no one ever went, hey, these are also autism symptoms.
Yeah.
Maybe you should talk to a mental health professional.
Those that not being recognised mean that support wasn't.
Support wasn't there, so
you don't know to go and look for support for something if you don't know it's if you're just trying to go down the one line. So I think those two topics are so intrinsically linked, the stacking and access to support.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we talked a little bit about on Catherine episode, didn't we?
We did talk a little about the art
that was
episode.
It was so good. Again, such an interesting, because again, we're so creative. We're a divergent brain.
I find art in many different forms very cathartic, whether I'm good at it or not.
Yeah.
So I love what my friends always say. Oh, are you doing some make and do? Like, yes, I am doing some make and do, and it doesn't matter whether it's any good or not. I just feel better doing it.
Yeah. I definitely find it helps me process certain things, especially emotionally, like catharsis, and just like processing something out, or just it takes up certain parts of my brain so that like my subconscious kind of starts sorting things in the background. And so by the end of it, it's like, yes, my brain is now more ordered. Brilliant.
I finished a bit more of this crochet cardigan, and I know what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Yeah, fascinating thing.
I was unfortunately unwell I wasn't unwell that week, was I? I had the week off because I was being Lady Macbeth for the episode on hoarding, which is a shame because I really wanted to do that one. My grandfather definitely had a bit of a hoarding problem. I definitely have some tendencies towards hoarding.
And that's one of the things I really identified in it. Like I know that definitely in the past I've fallen into borderline hoarding behaviours, and I found the episode quite hard actually. I found that one emotionally difficult at points. Definitely stuck with me because I was just like, wow, again, this was treated in entirely the wrong way and has left scars within me because of how it was approached and stuff. So it was so good to hear Christine talking about what the realities of something is, why you might do it, and because even just for me in that moment, I was like, oh, yeah, because these are the things I've worked out for myself now about like forgiving myself of certain things and knowing the reasons behind certain things and approaching it in certain ways, even just the impulse to collect beyond a certain point, and when I've noticed it goes up and down, certain things that it's tied to. It's like, oh yeah, no, it's good to have that vindicated and backed up by a professional in the field. And it's such an interesting, nuanced topic, and it made me realise stuff like the fact that my mind nebula, my version of a mind palace, is anchored in physical objects. It helps me keep my mind nebula actually accessible by having like tying threads of the that actual nebula to physical anchor points that are really important to me, that have almost like they're almost touchstones of access into certain
so
bits
interesting, because I would say exactly the same thing. And I've been through a house move. A lot of my stuff's been in storage, and just having my particular things, my Funko Pops, my weird knickknacks, they're like part of the jigsaw puzzle that is like my brain.
Yeah.
And with those missing, I find it hard to work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I find it interesting in how
Write,
even
to
just,
work.
Yes.
Yeah.
We talked about that with Verity, didn't we, in terms of an office space where you need to work.
Yeah,
it makes me
has
think
to
about
be.
when I go away, I've now narrowed it down to the what I need to still be able to brain whilst I'm away. And for me, it's actually really minimal things, but I've got certain things which I've actively, over time, built so that they are a physical anchor point that I can just take with me wherever I go. And those can then just be in the space. That's just like two small things. But actually, that means I can just go travelling wherever.
I'm smiling with a lot of excitement because I have a tiny cartoony unicorn and a little TARDIS with a light on top that perform that exact function when I go away. That exact function.
Interesting. Oh, I mean, we're gonna have to get back
we'll have to get back to that. This is a really long episode at the moment, but I think
we're retrospective, isn't it?
Yeah, and
finish up with food.
We talked a lot about food. We had quite a few comments about the food episode, actually. Like people that I know, especially, would come up and say, the food episode. I felt that on a visceral level. Like, yes, good.
Again, it's one of those fundamental things. We all have to eat.
Yeah.
We have to have food to live, continue our existence. And so we all have a relationship to food. And that can be so nuanced. It can be something that, we absolutely adore and we really thrive off, and we can disappear into, and we can get so much joy from. But it can also be, there can be a lot of problem areas within it from various different angles that can amplify up to really, really dangerous degrees, life-threatening degrees. Yeah. But then all of that crossover and the nuances of why we might get to those points and stuff like that. There's so much there. Yeah. I think that's definitely a...
you could do a whole series on them.
You could. You
Definitely do a whole
really
series.
could. It'd be really fascinating.
So
to see.
tune in for Life in the Mind of Food, the
Yeah.
entire series.
I mean, I think most of our episodes, that's one of
Yeah.
the things we've touched on things and gone, oh my god, there's so much more to. It's like brushing the tip of the iceberg kind of thing, and it's really exciting. I found that really exciting to be like, I really want to now in future seasons come back to series. How are we going to do it?
I don't know. I've gone for
American or-
season because
Yeah.
like American seasons tend to be like 24 episodes, whereas a British series is like 6 to 8.
That's a good point.
That's why I went for season.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I like
Yeah.
that more than the American English divide of some
Yeah.
other arbitrary. But yeah, like come back to things in
Yeah.
future seasons and go, oh, let's talk to someone different about the same topic because it'll be an entirely different conversation.
be
and that
totally
is so
different.
exciting.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, it has been a joy presenting with you, Murray, for the
same
past
to
few
yourself.
months. We're really looking forward to getting started on the next season. We've got some great guests lined up for you. Thank you so much for listening and engaging with us. Again, go back to episodes that you like, comment, ask us questions, let us know what you want for the next season.
Yeah, pop us an email, pop us a message, or just I mean, we'd love to hear from, because we're really trying to reach out to, as neurodivergent people ourselves, reach out to more people who want to know more, and also just we always love to hear.
We do.
People's experiences, people's
Yeah.
opinions and stuff. Genuinely, it's so
do.
useful. Yeah, it's great, exciting. Yeah.
Okay, folks, that's it for this episode. You can follow us on Instagram at life.inthemind. Our other socials are linked in our bio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. See you next time.